So I was planning to talk about disturbing dreams and nightmares and how to think about them and work with them. And um, I'm just going to improvise just a little bit because I don't have all the time I plan to have, but I just wanted to say a few things about it. And also, I'd really like to hear what your questions or interests are around this. The one thing I often say is, that there are no bad dreams, and that the most disturbing dreams can actually be the most helpful dreams, the most transformative dreams, and that it's their dreams that I feel are the most important to pay attention to, because I think our dreams, um, we dream a lot every night, a couple hours every night, but I think sometimes our dreams really have something important to tell us, and that they become really intense as a way to make them memorable enough to break through to our consciousness, that they're not really ever trying to make us miserable. Jen Lynn said that dreams bring just what you need. And so I always feel like if you wake up with a really intense dream, it's easy to label it as a bad dream. But every time I've worked with so many apparently scary dreams now, that I can say every time I've sat with someone and just been a little bit more agnostic about what its valence is, like maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. Let's just say we don't know because it's an image from dream. It doesn't have the same value system as waking life. So just trust it and pay attention to it in a curious way, like we would with a felt sense that might not feel good at first. And it opens up to the most amazing things. Okay, so let me just describe this dream again. It's a session I did with someone who was basically just wanted to try this out. She was interviewing me about how I work with dreams and was very happy to share this. She said, feel free to share it with anyone. And so she, and it's just a really good example of how to experience what seems on the surface like a really bad dream and turns out to be a really profoundly helpful dream. So she says, I have to go for an operation. The surgeon is a kind of albino. He has white eyes. He looks scary and maybe blind. There are 3 men there, supportive, making fun with me. The surgeon says I will need to stay until at least Sunday. I'm concerned. I need to get back to class. They say time is up. They attach a huge syringe of yellow-brown liquid to my right arm. I lay down. The bed is very narrow, like an acrobatics bar, and I start to feel woozy. The surgeon says, okay, take the snakes from her wrists. And the first one, she says, comes off easily, and they throw it on the floor, but the second one attaches to her leg, and no one does anything. The snakes are yellow and poisonous. And so the first thing I do with this dream is invite the help, which is what Jen Lynn suggests that we do with every dream. He said that was the point of dream work, is not to analyze it, not to try and understand what it means, but to find and embody the help that is in every dream. And that, that is the sole purpose of working with a dream. And I find that finding a help is, it is helpful, but it also can be just a starting place, that once your body is infused with the energy that you need to meet the dream, then you can carry it forward from there. So I invite her to feel into the sense of help that the 3 men that are being friendly and bantering with her and relaxing her, to get a sense of that in her body. And then she can relax into it a little bit. And I think this is really important, actually, the attitude that we bring to a dream, or almost any situation really, will really change how we experience it. So if we're really frightened, the world looks frightening. and the dreams look frightening. But if we're calm and curious, then there's a whole bunch of things that we see that are not available to us otherwise. Our peripheral vision literally narrows when we're afraid. And so we have a wider field of vision. And the metaphor works as well to say we have a wider experience when we're calm and more confident. So, like a dog will appear friendly if you're not afraid of a dog, but if you're afraid of the dog, it will appear vicious. It really colors our experience greatly. So after the dreamer is found the help and feels a little bit more relaxed about this situation, I ask her to enter into the subjective experience of the albino surgeon. I find with ambiguous dream figures, it's really interesting and helpful to see the world from their perspective. And dreams, one of my Jungian teachers said, like dreams, every element in a dream carries as a carrier of consciousness, but a different slice of it. And so you can wander around your dream and find and enter different pieces of it, and you'll have a different take, and you'll understand what that element is doing there from the inside, which is like finding the felt sense and your sense of something from the inside. It can be very different from what it looks like when you first encounter it. So in this case, she enters the surgeon and, and looks at the world through his eyes, and the shift is dramatic. Rather than the expected darkness and blindness, her field of vision was filled with light. She said it felt like a kind of rebirth. She saw a different path open up for herself, one of opening up to light and power, she said, not power over, but power within. And prior to this moment, she said she was carrying a sense in her waking life that something bad was lurking inside her like a cancer. And after embodying the surgeon, she was aware that something was being birthed that was like stepping into light. And so this changed her trajectory in her life. I've spoken to her after because she had been very much on a one track and having in the feeling in the background of wanting to re-engage with her spiritual life. And this dream was a catalyst for her for that. And so for many people who are able to immerse, like she was brave and able to go into this dream in this way, if you can do this with an open mind, the shift can be immediate, and it sounds magical, but it's not that unusual a thing. In fact, modern nightmare treatments are based on this idea of dreaming the dream forward, of taking the nightmare and imagining it forward. And the imagery rehearsal therapy is sort of asks people to just imagine it forward in any which way. But I think this way of finding the help and finding a calm body and getting a felt sense of what the dream is bringing to help you encounter it constructively is an important step that I added in from focusing. So I know we just have like 8 minutes left, I see. So I want to stop there and just see if there's any comments or questions. I think Dorothy might have been going to read a poem I'd suggested. So let me just see what Lynn would suggest we do next.
Well, we would love to just improvisationally, respond to that very, very rich dream and ideas about the dream. It's just beautiful.
Thank you. As far as nightmares go, this is not a terrible one, and sometimes nightmares are reenactments of terrible trauma, and they are a direct memory. The dreams from that come in post-traumatic stress injury tend to be recurrent dreams that replicate the original trauma. Much harder to find help in those dreams, and staying with the terror I find it doesn't help. I mean, I have people who have been sort of stuck in it, and it doesn't help if the terror is already filling them up. What helps is to find a way to observe the terror or be with it from a safer distance. Otherwise, it doesn't. The problem the problem with staying with the terror is it can put you into overwhelm. So your nervous system can become overwhelmed, and then you go into a dissociative state or an overly activated state. So in trauma therapy, you need to stay within the window. And so it depends on the person and their capacity to be with terror, and finding the helpful forces or the calm body or a sense of awe can give you the strength to be with it. It doesn't mean avoiding it altogether. I don't suggest that you make every dream into a nice dream. It is what it is. But when you have dreams where you can't find help, where they're a terrifying reenactment of an actual trauma you experienced, what I do is I start the process of dream work with something like clearing a space, finding a sense of calm inside, a sense of resource, and then just really finding a felt sense of that, marking that place. And then if there is no help to be found in the dream, I invite the person to go back to the sense of calm and spaciousness that they found as a setup. So I set it up so there is a helpful place to go if no help can be found in the dream itself. Although usually, surprisingly, even in recurrent frightening nightmares, there are little changes, and that's an indication that the trauma is beginning to be integrated, in that the changes in the dream or mean that this is starting to change how we hold this memory. It's a very good way to gauge how much healing has been done around a traumatic incident. If the dream is exactly like the experience was in every detail, it hasn't been integrated at all. If it changes and has pieces woven in from present day or pieces woven in from different places, it's starting to shift. And then the helpful places are those places where the change is starting to happen, and you can pay attention to what is different about the dream and the original trauma. And so I'm now talking about the most extreme kinds of nightmares that are associated with post-traumatic stress injury. And even those dreams are helpful. Dreams are, I believe, trying to take our traumatic memories in these cases and integrate them into our larger network of memory. And that's how it appears, is unintegrated memory will be just exactly like it was. Like, actually, bad memories are more accurate and repetitive, and our memory is actually more flexible and fluid and not very accurate to what really happened, but more of a sense of putting it into the context of our lives and weaving in things that are like it. So dreaming is a really interesting snapshot of that process. Anyway, I'm going to stop and listen to you for a minute. I get off on tangents. So, yeah.
There was a recording that I heard. Maybe it was Gene with Ann Weiser Cornell, where he was doing a demonstration of working with a traumatic dream, but I can't remember exactly where I encountered that. But he was doing just what you're saying and finding something neutral in the dream to have her embody, but then came back to that terrifying image after embodying the neutral image.
Yeah, I think if you avoid it altogether, you're basically telling somebody that's too scary for even us to touch. And if you can't be with them in it, in that, very difficult place, they're going to feel like it's not doable. Um, I like this quote from Jen Lynn. I see it here. It's pretty apt. Is because I always advocate turning toward these dreams and not away from them, just in a way that's going to be not creating more distress, but still definitely turning toward the difficulty, the terror. He said, "What is true is already so. Owning up to it doesn't make it worse. Not being open about it doesn't make it go away. People can stand what is true, for they're already enduring it." So with really terrifying dreams, they are already very present, and it's not as if you can just gloss them over or make it really um, friendly if it's not. But what I find is there's two kinds of dreams. That the albino surgeon dream felt like a scary nightmare, but it really wasn't. And then there's the traumatic, stress related dreams that really are a revisiting of a terrifying experience. And so they have to be, there's just got to be a lot more, to tread a lot more lightly with things that are like truly terrifying and based on real life experience that isn't completely integrated yet. There is a man a Polish researcher who looked at the dreams of people who had survived Auschwitz, and their dreams were, as you can imagine, harrowing and terrifying, and revisited their experience of the concentration camp. But he said even those dreams were helpful and had there were what he just summed up as attempts at integration, and over time even those dreams started to become more hopeful. So even you can even turn toward the most frightening dreams you can imagine. It's just about, I feel like, doing it in the right way with someone who is really terrified by the whole business. It doesn't help to dive right in without some way of picking up helpful resources in some way, and ideally directly from the dream, because if the changes or the helpful pieces are in the dream, they seem to be the right medicine, as opposed to just a generic kind of calming and grounding, which is helpful too if there's nothing else you can do. But the dreams themselves seem to, I think Jen Lynn's right. I think they come with what's needed if you are able to be open-minded enough to look and to try on the sense, the feelings that are in those dreams.
I sometimes look at life situations that seem to be stuck and repetitive as a dream, with my clients in therapy and also with myself. And Leslie, when you were speaking before, I thought of this situation in my life that seems stuck as a dream, and maybe not a bad dream, although the life situation doesn't seem very helpful at all. And your presence, your way of being, just came into the situation. And I thought, oh, what if this situation isn't a bad situation that I should get out of, get over or something? What if it's saying something? And there was a whole different feeling about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot I could say about that. I do think it's really very fruitful and interesting to treat life as a waking dream, and to see it as that fluid. And there's a type of dream work that I've really enjoyed. I picked up pieces of, called co-creative dream work, or the 5-star method by Scott Sparrow. And he would take dream situations, and they could also apply to life situations, and ask the dreamer to really just look at the dynamic. So it's like a relational dynamic that's happening in a dream, and start to feel into it in a way that's strips away the details to more of a the basic narrative, which is a really interesting thing to do with a dream. He gives an example of a man who was estranged from his father because his father couldn't accept, he'd married a woman who was of a different race, and his father couldn't accept it and was quite racist about it. And he just cut off his relationship with his father because it just couldn't accept his father's racism. So in the dream, his father's knocking at the door and wanting to come in, and he says he's too busy or turns away, and so just doesn't engage. And there's a way you can go, okay, so if what's it like to be in a situation where somebody wants something or is coming to you and you turn away without engaging that pattern? He could say, oh, I see this in my life, I see this as active in my life in 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 other ways as well. And then to ask, what would you want to do with this dream or this situation? What would happen if you turn toward it? And it's not necessarily about forgiving his father, but saying that this dynamic might still be playing out in his life in a way that cuts off communication, cuts off engagement, cuts off connection. And imagining then a different way of being can really can have a ripple effect through life and his relationships. We tend to dream about the things that we don't want to think about. So they're the things we repress come up more often in dreams. And that the thing is, our ability to control our prefrontal cortex, all of those executive functions, don't happen when we're sleeping. You can't really make plans and predictions, and all of that stuff isn't within the realm of dream. But one thing you can do is incubate dreams. So, and it works about a third of the time. Dreams are never, they don't do things on command, but you can, as you go to sleep, you can invite something that you want to have happen in your dreams. As opposed to stopping something negative, you can invite something like just tonight, I want to dream about, I don't know what, something, you'd have to decide what that is. But especially if you write it down, an intention for your dreaming process, and you make it like, I want to dream about whether I should take that job or not. You think, I want to dream about something that's really going to make me feel good, or point me in a direction to greater health. Or you can ask for that, and then over the next 3 nights, just treat the dream as if it's responding to your question. That's a way to have your dreams respond to a request that could be a little bit more positive. But it may not, though. As we really, by definition, we don't control what happens in our dreams. And if you wake up with the same kind of things and something repeats, I think it's rather than, like in focusing, rather than trying to wish it away, to actually just be really compassionately with it, and it will maybe shift that way. I would say that what happens over time when you sit with dreams, and finding the help might not necessarily come from the help might not come from somewhere positive. It might come from something that's quite jarring and shifts your perspective. But over time, what I find with in the dream world in particular, and maybe this could also apply generally, is that as you just sit with what comes, and kind of with this focusing attitude, that there becomes less of a distinction between positive and negative. The valence doesn't really matter so much as the experience. And so finding and picking up help, it's simplistic to say, find the positive thing. It's about what's going to give you the energy to be with what comes. And it might mean embodying, like I had a recent dream work session with someone who's was very dramatic, put up on a like a funeral pyre, and the image in the dream was of a monster that was present, and the monster was what gave him the energy to be with the situation. So it isn't always, help isn't always the most obviously positive, the puppies and the rainbows kind of thing. It's really what will give your body the energy it needs to be with what comes. And I find that, and I used to be more traditional, analytical about the dreams, but ever since I've been making this idea of finding the energy in the dream that you need, it's really just become so much more rich, deep, constructive, because without that bolstering or that energy that you need, what happens is that the dreamer can't go as deep, it doesn't feel as safe, doesn't feel as bolstered, or so there's something about it that's extremely helpful. But at the same time, yeah, it's not just about making everything nice and easy and positive. It's there's more to it than that, but it can sound like that when I do it, when I sort of speak about it too quickly, I think.
But that image that I went to wasn't necessarily, it wasn't obviously positive. It could have been difficult.
Right.
When I embodied that character, that's what came with something positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would never prejudge how it's going to land. A dream image is a whole different, it's not a dog in a dream is not like a dog in the waking life. It can be so many things. I try to treat everything in the dream, even the most minuscule thing, as very profound and unknown.